All right, Morgan here with winterwarfare.com, where if your main parachute does not open, you got the rest of your life to pull your reserve. So I'm out in the field today with an item that you are going to want to have, and this is a conversation that you're going to want to pay careful attention to. So behind me, I have the Kelty Tactical Fieldcraft Poncho. And there's a couple things about this poncho that are going to be extremely important to you, that are much more than just having another poncho in your kit. So let me tell you a couple things about this. This is a very well thought out, very functional poncho that Kelty Tactical has put together. As a matter of fact, this is in my kit now. I've upgraded the poncho that I had to this. So combat arm guys, combatant arms guys that are out in the field know that one thing that we talk about here at winterwarfare.com a lot is weather and having to deal with the weather and dealing with the elements. Combat is a numbers game, and this poncho has some combat functionality to it, which again I'll explain in a minute. But the numbers game that I always look at in the gear that I have is having an advantage. Some of those advantages might be small, some of them might be big, but essentially it works like this. It's probability. War is probability. Combat is probability. If I have a 51% chance and my enemy has a 49% chance, or if I have 51% better gear and my enemy has 49% effective gear, in the long run, I win. I want to give myself those advantages. So let me get to this poncho here over the next couple minutes. This poncho is, again, made in the United States. It's Berry compliant. This is an item that goes out to DoD units all over the world. I'd imagine to other militaries. This is a mil-spec poncho. This is what I call the poncho on steroids, and I'll tell you a couple things about it. This poncho acts as four things in one, and one of those is, I think in my opinion, a little bit more than just being the simple poncho. So it acts as a shelter in this configuration that I have it up. My shelter, my hooch. Every combat arms guy knows that out in the field, you need a little shelter. And just with this simple hooch, I could live out in these woods, keep myself from the elements for months at a stretch. Maybe I'm on my way to my objective and I could easily keep this in my 3-day pack. I could keep it in my ruck. Maybe I'm in my patrol base for a couple weeks or a week or several days, and I'm going to set up my hooch out in the field. That's one thing. This Fieldcraft poncho also acts as a litter, and that's one of the main things that I want to talk about. It acts also as a hammock. So as the hammock and litter along the edges of this poncho, if you will, is a extremely heavy-duty nylon that goes up and down. There's several handles on each one of the corners. There's, as a matter of fact, 4 handles on there. In the litter configuration, which again I'm going to talk about a little bit more in a second. This also acts as a hammock. So if you need to get off the ground, you're capable of doing that. In the hammock configuration, this thing comes with, included with it, it comes with 2 heavy-duty webbing straps and 2 carabiners. So this poncho does weigh 1 pound 10 ounces. That's probably a little bit lighter if you don't carry the carabiners, if you don't need it in the hammock configuration. And obviously it acts as a poncho. So let's talk a little bit about, I guess, why I upgraded, why I just fell in love with this poncho, and why I think it's an item that when we talk about medical, when we talk about combat situations, tactical situations, a lot of guys now have their IFAKs, which is a very important thing. And the IFAK is just one piece of plugging up holes and all that stuff that you have learned. The second component of a combat situation or a tactical situation and getting wounded or being WIA is simply getting you out of that situation. And that's where this poncho comes in. So as I mentioned, one of the 4 things, not only is it a poncho, it's a hammock, it's a litter, and it's also a shelter or a hooch. So when we talk about this thing being a litter, as I mentioned, up and down, all around this thing on the outer edges is a very heavy duty webbing. On each one of the corners is 4 heavy duty handles. So one part of an IFAC is simply, taking care of a wound that you might have in that tactical or combat situation. The other part is getting you out of there, and that's where this thing comes in. The thing that I like about that being not only a shelter, my hooch, but in addition to that, the functionality where it's also a litter. So when you look at a typical military platoon, for example, a combat arms platoon, several guys in that platoon are going to carry either skeds or something to deal with wounded in action. Okay, it's much more than just having the IFAC and plugging up some guys' holes. The second part of that is having several guys in a unit for that combat mission, if there are wounded, to get them out, get them to the rear area, and that's where this comes in. So there's 2 ways to do that. Either you have a sked, which that's a very common item. Say in a typical infantry platoon, a couple guys have a sked, and during that mission they carry that, and if somebody gets wounded, they just get them out of there, essentially. And those things are very effective. This is probably a compromise to that, in that you could still be drug out on it. It's got heavy duty handles and webbing to do that. But the thing that I like about this is it's not an additional item that I need. I don't need a sked, and I also have my poncho. In this particular case, I'm just going to have the poncho. And what I would recommend to anybody watching this is that at a minimum, somebody in your unit should have this. Somebody, and maybe that guy's you, maybe several guys have this, but I know, at least for me personally, if something happens to me, I have this for my own evac, I guess, in addition to my IFAC. But that's a consideration that you and your small team, you and your squad, you and your platoon should think about. Several guys having this Kelty Fieldcraft poncho. So, okay, that's enough about that. The other thing I did want to mention, so this item is somewhat hard to get. We have it up on our website. We can get as many of these as we want. Put your order in, and we simply order these from the factory. There's a several-month lead time. But, just like anything, if you want it, put your order in. The other thing I'd say, too, I think I forgot to mention, it is IR compliant. So it's, again, totally mil spec, heavy duty. And that's all I got on that. Something to consider. Morgan out.